All right, let's get right into it. There's this kind of surprising truth about money. Turns out, being good with it has way less to do with how smart you are and way more to do with how you act. We're going to see why what's going on in your head is actually the key, not just the number in your bank account.
So, to kick things off, how about a little puzzle? We're going to look at two people, polar opposites, and you can try to guess who actually wins the game of wealth in the end.
Okay, so in one corner, you've got this high-flying executive. We're talking Harvard MBA, top investment firm, the whole 9 yards. And in the other corner, a local janitor from rural Vermont. Just a regular guy. So, who's your money on? Who do you think ends up with more? All right, let's break it down. This first story, it just perfectly nails the main idea here. The executive's name was Richard Fuscone, and this guy was the definition of success, right? So successful, he actually retired in his 40s to become a philanthropist. People raved about his business smarts. He was living this unbelievable life. He borrowed a ton of money to make his mansion even bigger. Get this, it had 2 pools, 2 elevators, and it cost him over 90 grand a month just to maintain. But then, 2008 happened. The financial crisis hit, and that whole high-debt house of cards just came tumbling down. He went bankrupt. So Fuscone's story is a pretty stark warning, right? But the real lesson, the thing that makes you go, whoa, is when you put his story next to our other guys, Ronald Reed, the janitor. His story? Well, it couldn't have gone more differently. You're not going to believe this. When Ronald Reed passed away, this quiet, everyday janitor left behind an $8 million fortune. How on earth did he do it? It's almost shockingly simple. He saved what he could, which wasn't a lot. He put it into good, solid blue-chip stocks. And then, and this is the magic ingredient, he just waited for decades. So here's the big takeaway. That huge gap in education and experience between the genius executive and the janitor, it meant nothing. It was totally wiped out by the gap in their behavior. Simple, boring patience absolutely crushed complex, flashy greed. It proves that money isn't a hard science. It's a soft skill. It's all about how you act. But behavior isn't the entire picture. We also have to talk about these 2 huge, invisible forces that are always at play: luck and risk.
Just think about Bill Gates for a second. Yeah, he's a genius. Yeah, he worked incredibly hard. But his story also kicked off with just a wild 1 in a million stroke of luck. He just happened to go to one of the only high schools in the entire world that had a computer back in 1968.
The odds were literally 1 in a million. That gave him a head start that nobody else could really get. But now, let's talk about his best friend from that school, Kent Evans. Evans was just as bright, just as driven, and they both shared that same obsession with computers. But Kent Evans, tragically, was a victim of the flip side of that coin: risk. He died in a mountaineering accident before he even graduated, a 1 in a million tragedy. You see that? The exact same invisible force, just pointed in the opposite direction. This just shows us so clearly that luck and risk are siblings. They're 2 sides of the very same powerful coin. And you really can't believe in one, that luck helps people succeed, without having just as much respect for its twin, risk, which can cause failure. In this idea of 2 opposing forces, it also applies to the skills you need for money, because it turns out that getting rich and staying rich are 2 completely, totally different things. Getting rich? That often means you have to take big risks. You have to be wildly optimistic. Look at the legendary trader Jesse Livermore. He made what would be $3 billion today by betting against the market in the 1929 crash. But that same appetite for risk is what eventually caused him to lose every penny.
But staying rich? Oh, that's a whole different ballgame. It takes the total opposite skill set. It takes humility. It takes a little bit of paranoia. That constant feeling that what you've built could vanish in a heartbeat. It's like Buffett says, risking something you have and need for something you don't have and don't need, well, that's just foolish.
Just look at what Warren Buffett didn't do. He's not just a great investor, he is a master of survival. By never letting himself get wiped out, he gave himself the one thing that's absolutely essential for building real wealth: time. Longevity is what lets the magic of compounding really do its thing.
Okay, so if survival is the secret sauce for compounding, then what's the whole point? What's the real goal of building wealth anyway? I'll tell you this, it's not about buying more fancy stuff.
Well, there was this psychologist, Angus Campbell, who studied happiness his whole career, and he found that the single most powerful factor for feeling good about your life, it isn't your salary, it isn't where you live, it's not your job, It's having a strong sense of control over your own life.
And that, right there, is money's greatest true value. The biggest payoff it can ever give you is control over your time. It's the freedom to wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I can do whatever I want today.
And look, this isn't some all-or-nothing thing. Think of it like a ladder you're climbing. Every rung up, every little bit of money you save, it buys you a bit more freedom. From something as small as taking a sick day without worrying, to being able to wait for the right job after a layoff, all the way up to retiring when you want to, not when you have to.
This idea of freedom and control brings us to our last point, and it's maybe the most important distinction you need to make to really get the psychology of money.
See, being rich is all about your current income. It's what people can see. It's the $100,000 car, the giant house, the designer watch. It's flashy, and it's what most people are chasing after. But being wealthy, that's different. Wealth is what you don't see. It's the money that you haven't spent. It's the investments you have that haven't been turned into a new car yet. Wealth is hidden, and that's what gives you options. That's what gives you freedom and control over your time. So as we wrap this up, here's the question to really think about. When it comes to your own financial life, what are you building? Are you building a life that just looks rich on the outside? Or are you building one that is truly deeply wealthy on the inside?